And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the James Murua Literary Podcast. We're live streaming from Nairobi, Kenya. We have an exciting show today. Um, as we start, please remember that this show is brought in partnership with the Frankfurter Buchmesse, with financial support from the German Federal Foreign Office. And our guests today are really exciting. We have Okechukwu Ofili and Lena Renold. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves. I know Okechukwu, you have something to do with Okada, and Lena, you have your own business. So maybe we start with the person closest to me. Ofili, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself in relation to our topic?
Oh, yes. My name is Okechukwu Ofili. I've been in the publishing industry for, I would say, 15 years. I self-published 3 books. I got published by Farafina for a children's book. And during that journey, I looked at the book distribution system in Nigeria, realized it was broken. And I tried to solve the break by leveraging on mobile devices. And that's what led to the creation of Okada Books, a mobile ebook reading platform that has over 400,000 registered users with 15,000 to 20,000 monthly active users. And we're looking to use mobile devices for the past 5-6 years to fix the broken distribution system.
Thank you, Ofili. What about you, Lena? Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I think the first thing I should maybe say is that I'm an American. Grew up in New Jersey, near New York City. Studied in Washington, D.C. and in Germany, and relocated to Germany, to Cologne. That's where I am now, in about 1994. And that's when I started working in the book business. I'm on a little bit of a different side. I did the vocational training to be a bookseller. And then I moved from there and worked in a distributor, going then to sales and marketing in various different publishing houses here in Germany. Big ones like Holtzbrink or smaller ones. And for the last 6 years, I have my own business doing sales and marketing for independent publishers, trying to get books to booksellers, to get them to the customers at the end. That's what I do. We have a little bit different system here in Germany too, because our distribution system isn't broken like I just understood it is in Nigeria.
Thank you, Lena. I mean, Ophelia, maybe we start with you. You talked about a broken system.
Yeah.
What is happening? What is this broken system? And is it a Nigerian problem or is it an Africa-wide problem?
It's an African problem, but I always choose not to lump up the continent because each country is unique. And my sphere of experience is with the Nigerian system. But I do believe that it reflects closely on the rest of Africa to a certain degree. The best way I can explain it is that it's easier for you to buy a copy of Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart in Germany, in America, in where else? UK, than it is to buy it in Nigeria, his own country. And that is just an explanation of how bad I feel personally that the distribution system is. And it is basically, if you want to publish a book, we don't have so many bookstores, and beyond the core city centers like Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt, River State, you tend to not find an easy distribution system. So that's why I say I feel it's broken. And even for us as Okada Books, we've tried to, fix it with mobile technology. And based on my vision to the reality of what I'm seeing, I don't even think we've scratched the surface. We still have a long way to go.
Okay, that's really very good to know. Lena, the system you're in is not broken. So how does the system that's not broken look like? How does the book get from book get from the publisher where it's just been, they've just published the book and then suddenly everybody and all the cities in Germany have it?
Yeah, our situation here in Germany is that we have about 6,000 bookshops. In almost every city you find a bookshop, sometimes 2 or 3 even, and most of these bookshops are really just for books also. They're not like combinations with stationery or other things. So we have a whole different network that we can work with here. And the publishers, they bring out their programs about 2 times a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. And we have sales representatives that go out to the bookstores and talk to the booksellers and present them the programs and say which books are coming and stuff like that. And then the booksellers can buy the books from us, or can order them from us at least. And then we can distribute the books directly from us via our distributor to the booksellers. This is one way of doing it. Another way that we can do it, which is very special if you're asking me about Germany, is that we have 3 wholesalers. And these 3 wholesalers have almost all the books that are available in Germany. And you can order them in 24 hours, almost everywhere in Germany, almost everywhere. And that's something really special, because I know when I go back to the States and I want to buy a book that's not on the bestseller list, it sometimes takes more than a week, 7 to 10 days until I can get the book in the States. And here in Germany, I can get really almost anything within 24 hours or 3 to 4 days if I have to order it directly from the publisher. So this is really just a very, very special system that we have here.
The system seems to be like a really good system, but it can't have been a great system from the beginning. I know, like, for instance, the German nation was basically destroyed at World War II, and within like less than 80 years, it has one of the most, advanced publishing industries in the world. What do you attribute this to? What is it that makes this specific publishing industry special?
That's a tough question for me to answer, because I'm not German. I didn't grow up here, so it's a little bit tough for me to answer. But my feeling is that books are just very special for the German culture, for the way also that the Germans are brought up. Books have a very special place in the lives of people here, and that's why they think it is so important. And that's why we even have a law fixing the prices. I don't know if everybody knows about this, but a book costs the same no matter where you buy it in Germany. You can buy it in Cologne, for example, for 20 euros, or you can buy it in a really small town in Bavaria someplace, and it will cost 20 euros there too. And this is a system that I believe, I'm not sure about this one, but I think it started in the 1888 already. So that's been going for a long time. And originally it was just an agreement between booksellers and publishers that this net price was there, this fixed price, and it has become a law. I'm not exactly sure when it got to be a law here in Germany, but it is. So that's something also that just guarantees that we could have a lot of bookshops also. And if you have a lot of bookshops, then it's a lot easier to buy the books, because you see them more often. They're more present for you too. If you can't see it, you can't buy it. So.
Wow, this seems like a really good system. I hope a lot of us, I'm sure a lot of people on the continent would have loved to have a system like that. Don't you think, Ofili?
Of course. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so Ofili, the system is broken, but how are people getting books anyway? If the system is broken, how am I getting a book when I'm sitting in Nairobi? What are the ways that people are getting their books from publishers to the readers currently?
So what we have right now is publishers drive their distribution. So like I said before, I was a self-publisher before I became I founded Okada Books. And basically, you get your book, and your publishing industry manually sets up a distribution system. They pick the bookstores. You pick the bookstores you want to put the books in. So you're sort of in charge of it. There is not a strong, say, like a distributor where you just have an agreement, give it to him, and they distribute it across. the country. Or also where we don't have so many bookstores. I forget the number off the top of my head, but you don't have so many bookstores. So you find that some publishers, to sort of navigate the problem, put their books in pharmacies or supermarkets. So they negotiate with the chains or fast food joints and put them at the front of those fast food joints. So that's how some of the publishers are sort of bypassing the issue. But by and large, it's not yet evolved to a very scalable solution.
I know that Nigeria is quite famous for its film industry, and there are a lot of films coming out just as much as books. Is there a reason why maybe the publishing or writing industry hasn't tried to use the same model as the film people?
It would be a little bit different because the film industry, for example, they are not selling DVDs. Neither is the music industry selling CDs. What the film industry is doing, and Jason Joka has done a phenomenal job with this, with Iroko, but he has sort of taken it upon himself to sort of aggregate all the Nollywood content and put them on his channel and push it out like that. But it's not a model that the publishing industry can, quote unquote, replicate because of piracy issues. And it's just a different model. Let me just put it that way, because the movie industry is not selling physical DVDs. You're just sort of distributing it through channels, through Netflix and things like that. So it's a little bit different, I would say.
Wow, so it's a different model. Lena, the question I want to have for you is, the system seems really well designed. So if somebody who's on the continent of Africa and they want to get into that, they want to get their book to be in the system, what would they need to do?
If they want to get the African book in our system as a foreign language book.
Yes, I've published my book with Farafina or any other publishers, but now I want my book to be also sold in Germany. It looks like it's a very lucrative market. What are the opportunities?
Oh, I'm not sure. Because we have so many publishers here in Germany. I'm not sure how big the market for the foreign language book would be. That would be a problem, because if there's not enough market for the book, then they won't distribute it here, because you do have to have a book that will be sold to be put into the system. So I'm not sure if it would be possible to get a book in the foreign language. There are some English books. I'm not sure which country they're from, if they're from from UK or from America, where they come from. There are some English books that you can order here, but I'm not sure exactly. There are a few companies that were specialized on doing this. I'm not sure how active they are right now because of the internet also. So I'm not sure. I don't think it would be very easy to get into the wholesaler seller system here in Germany with your foreign language book. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So I guess I need to find somebody to translate my book
To translate it.
And then once it's translated, you have a better chance of getting the system.
That's the way I would go if I wanted to get my book distributed in Germany. Then I would first try and find an agent who would represent me to get my book sold to a German publisher, who would translate it and then sell it in German on the German market. That's the way I would go. Yeah.
I'm just finishing with that idea. How many books would be constitute a bestseller? Like if I'm selling is it 1,000, 10,000? What is the number is for bestseller in Germany?
That's different. It depends on if we're talking about a book about fiction, then you can have 50,000, or are we talking about academic books? Then it's a lot less. So it all depends on what kind of book we're talking about. Are we talking about hardcovers? Are we talking about paperbacks? So that would depend on these criteria. And it also depends a little bit about what time of the year it is too, because there are certain times when more books are bought also. Towards Christmas, for example, book sales go up really high because that's when people are buying books to give them as presents. So then you have to sell more books to just get onto the bestseller list. So I can't really answer that question with a certain number, but in the fiction range, it's a lot more than it is in the academic.
You said 50,000.
Even more sometimes.
Wow. Ophelia, let's get you in here.
Because we have, I think, I don't know, Dan Brown, for example, his books, or Frank Schätzing, that's a German author that you maybe have heard of. He sells lots and lots of books too.
Wow. Ophelia, we want to get you in here. I mean, like you noticed that there was a broken distribution system, which is why you set up the company that you set up. Tell us a little bit about Okada and how it's actually solving that problem. How is it supposed to solve that problem?
Okay, so essentially what we did with Okada Books was create a system that removed all the publishing bureaucracy. Because what happened was that publishing started becoming a luxury item where only the rich could publish their book. Because when you look at the economics of scale in Nigeria, ISBN is expensive, printing your book is expensive, distributing your book is expensive. So even though you had the skill set, you couldn't afford to do it. So it was only basically the rich that were getting published, or the ultra talented. So what we did was to say, look, let's remove all the unnecessary steps in publishing and let us just simplify it and allow somebody just publish an ebook on their mobile device. You don't necessarily need to have an ISBN number. You don't need to have a book printed out and distributed everywhere. You can just do everything digitally, so you get your book out much faster. But more importantly, we also worked on our payment systems that allowed the user in Nigeria to sell their books internationally and locally, and then get remitted directly in their local currency with minimal loss to their money, versus the original system where if you're a Nigerian author and you put your book on Amazon, when you wanted to get your money back after you've gone through all that hassle, you then had to get like a special credit card that charged you an exorbitant percentage fee. So we simplified all that process. It made it easy for people to publish and distribute their book, and made it in such a way that anybody with a cell phone and a want for books could just pick up their phone and download Okada Books and download any book they want. And currently we have about 40,000 plus books on our platform over the years of existence. And even though I feel that we haven't yet scratched the surface, what gives me joy is that I see authors that come and request their monthly withdrawals, and they're able to use it to support their family, pay school fees, pay health fees. And that really, it touches my heart, because I feel that it's serving a purpose, but I do believe that it can do more.
You're telling me that there are people on your platform who are making enough money that they're able to support families. I mean, how much are people making on your platform?
So you have some of the really top bestsellers that I would say, I was speaking dollar term, make about like $3,000, $4,000 a year from their books. And when you look at the Nigerian system, that's a lot of money for books. And then you have others that are just making like maybe $1,000, $2,000 here and there. So it's not like they're using it to support an entire family, but they're using it to pay little bills here and there, and they don't have to do much. You just publish your book, put it on the platform, you tell people about it. You're not running from bookstore to bookstore or trying to navigate complex distribution systems and road networks. You're just sitting on your home laptop or your mobile device, writing your stories, and people are just consuming all over the world.
So what are the opportunities for people from other parts of the continent or other parts of the world to get into your system? Is it closed to Nigeria, or is it an open system?
It's an open system, but if you know, one of the frustrations operating in the African market is that it's easier for you to send money from Nigeria to America than it is for you to send money from Nigeria to Ghana. And Nigeria and Ghana are next to each other, right? So we've looked at trying to set up in Kenya, where we use M-Pesa as a payment gateway and allow Kenyan authors. It's just too complicated. You have to register a company there. You have to do this, you have to do that. And it's just not seamless. And we're facing the same problem with Ghana. So in terms of scaling across the continent, we can do it, but it's not going to come until we have the African continent sort of breaks down these barriers that they've put for themselves. I'll give you an example when I say barriers. Like in Nigeria, we have a GT Bank, right? The same orange building, the same everything. In Ghana, you have the same GT Bank. But if you travel from Nigeria to Ghana, you go to that GT Bank, they don't know you. It's like, it's the same bank, but they don't know you. So that is part of the frustration. And I feel like it's one of the reasons why we haven't expanded. A lot of people are trying to solve that problem. I know Flutterwave is trying to see if they can break down that, but it's tough, to be honest. It's better if you're in America. You can sell your book to Nigerians than if you're in Kenya or Ghana to use Okada books, and that's quite ironic.
Wow,
that's very
really
ironic.
Lena, do you have any questions for Ofili?
Actually, I think it's amazing what Ofili does, to tell you the truth. I'm very excited about it too. Have you actually even thought about also offering the possibility for the authors to have their books also printed, not just have an ebook, have that mobile book, but also have the ability to print them if they want to, maybe like in smaller copies or something like that?
Yes, we've explored with a few options like that. On the continent, we tried to work with local printers, but it didn't gain traction because for the authors, there's just going to be you need the capital to pay for your initial books. We, however, have had conversation with Amazon to tie into their print-on-demand services, where the author in Nigeria would publish their book and format it for printing, and then put it on Amazon print on delivery with Okada Books as a middleman to serve all the authors. And the book would just, whenever it's printed, it will be printed in Japan, Germany, US. And it's something that the team is working on, but we haven't yet firmed up or finalized. But that's a great question.
Yeah, I think that would be also a great opportunity too for the authors then to be able to have their book, to really have it in your hand also.
Exactly. Expand their market size and user base.
Yeah.
Lena, one of the things that was really interesting for me when I was trying to get a guest for this is that apparently the German...
Nobody wanted to speak English, that's why.
Partly because of that. Partly because the distribution system in Germany, apparently it's changed quite a bit in the last decade or two. Do you want to speak a little bit to that? I mean, it's not the same system, especially with the introduction of the digital.
Yeah. In Germany, it's not like nirvana for booksellers here in Germany. It is also difficult because even though books are still very special here in Germany, there are other things that are also special. So the focus of people is also going away from books sometimes. So the market is very I don't know. The booksellers are fighting with each other for the market to be able to sell the books. So we also have chains here in Germany too. We just don't have independent booksellers. We also have chains like Barnes and Nobles in the US and stuff like that. And these chains are growing. There's no doubt about it. They're also growing here in Germany and taking over lots of these independent bookseller stores, especially when the booksellers decide to go into retirement and are looking for somebody to take over the bookstore. Then lots of times the chains will be taking over. So that's something that's a little bit difficult because then you have the negotiations because of the price, how much percent rebate should the booksellers become. And if they're a chain, then they have a lot more possibility to get more discount, which is bad for the publisher because then there's less money for us that is left over. So that's something that has happened in the last years and is a little bit of a problem. But actually, because of the pandemic now, with bookstores having to be closed in most parts of Germany, in Berlin, they have been open the entire time, but in most parts of Germany, the bookstores were closed. And here we saw a revival of the independent bookstores, because they have a very loyal customers, and their customers said, okay, it's a pandemic, I can't go to the bookstore, but I still want to order my books from this bookstore. And so that was a very special thing that has been happening for like whatever, a year now, a year and a half almost. And that is and they were very creative, the independent bookstores, what they did with like delivering books with bicycles to their customers and organizing like little spaces where they could pick up their ordered books and in like little bags with the invoice in the bag and stuff like that. And it was wonderful. It's great. It's it made me very happy.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I guess one of the rare positive stories from the pandemic era.
Exactly. I think we need to have those kind of stories too, not just everything that is like, oh, horrible, but also the good stories. And it seems also that just reading has become very important again here in Germany during the pandemic, because people have maybe more time and they just don't want to sit on their laptop all day and then read at night too. So they take out a book and read a book. So this has been good too. But we also have ebooks, of course, and they are doing well too. But ebooks are more important, I would say, here in Germany for certain genres like romance or crimes, that kind of stuff. Or a series where you're usually like, oh, I want to read all 10 books from this author with this detective, and then you can read them really quick because they're all on your iBook and stuff like that. So, yeah. Yeah.
What does your company Rundums Buch? Rundums Buch.
Rundums Buch, yeah. That means that everything about the book you can talk to me about. I have 10 publishers in my portfolio right now, 10 independent publishers, and for each publisher, I offer something different. Some publishers say, we would like you to take care of these chain bookstores, for example, and that's what I do for them. Other publishers say, okay, we want you to do more or less everything dealing with the distribution for all bookstores, including taking care of the sales representatives that go into the bookstores. And I do that too. And so I just, anything that I can do to help my publishers, I do.
Yeah. Nice.
Do you have a question for her, Ofili?
Oh no, it's just amazing how the system is set up. I was curious to know, in terms of your ebooks, how do you sell them? Are you selling them on Amazon or Kobo? How are you?
I have, not all of my publishers actually do ebooks. I would say it's about 50% right now. Yeah, about 5 of them do it. And we work with a distributor, an ebook distributor. I don't know, do you know Bookwire?
No, I don't.
Okay, because I think Bookwire is also an international company. And we work with Bookwire together as a distributor. Bookwire takes care of our ebooks and also the metadata and stuff like that, and pushes this information out to the ebook sellers. Amazon, of course, Kobold, all of these. And we also have something here in Germany called Tolino, the Tolino Alliance.
I know
which
that.
is also, it's also very special because it's an alliance of the chain booksellers with one of the wholesalers for the independent bookshops. So this is like a counterpart to Amazon, actually, in Germany. So it's an alternative. It's not that you can only go to Amazon to buy, but you can also go to Tolino. And if you are a customer, for example, from an independent bookstore around the corner, you could buy your ebooks from Tolino, and the bookstore around the corner gets a small percentage of the sales too, if it's connected by the sales. So.
Nice. And I had a question that jumped right out of my head. In terms of, I remember it now. In terms of ebooks, one of the things that I see a lot is that publishers are afraid of piracy. There's this unnatural fear of piracy. And what has been your experience in that, and how, for the ones that have put their books on your platform, how have they navigated that fear?
Yeah, piracy was a big problem right from the beginning. And I remember in the beginning, a lot of the publishers also wanted this digital rights management, this strong DRM. That is not existent anymore. Everybody is more or less doing the I don't know what it's called in English, to tell you the truth, soft digital rights management. It's not as not as hard as strict. Thank you. Not as strict as it used to be. And I personally think I'm a realist in this situation. I say, there are so many really smart people out there. If they want to get that book for free, they're going to get it for free. So that doesn't matter how much digital rights management you have on it. It's going to happen. So.
I'm glad you're saying that, because that's was one of my frustrations. For you to get books, they would make you run through ropes, make sure your server is secure, make sure you sacrifice your blood, everything, just to. It's like so many requirements, and after some time, and the process is just long. And like I tell them, is the exact thing that you said. Whoever wants to steal your book will. It's not. There's nothing you can do. You can. I mean, they hacked into the U.S. pipeline system. So what is Amazon going to do to stop people from? Anyway, I'm going on a rant, but that's awesome.
No, we love to listen to those rants. So we love to listen to the rants because they tell us a lot about the state of the space we're in right now. You said that you're not scratch the surface with what you're doing, Ofili, right now. Are you optimistic with the medium and long term with distribution on the continent?
No, I'm not optimistic. It's because I've been in it. I've been to sessions. I've sat into meetings, and I'm not optimistic. Textbooks, they will sell in the continent, but fictional books that are not driven by a forced contract. Because with academic books, the publisher gets the contract and students have to buy it. So publishers are interested in that because that's where the money is. But by and large, when I look at, and again, it could just be my mindset, because people look at Okada Books and say, you guys are very successful. But when I started it, I dreamt bigger. I wanted to see something bigger, where we were serving the continent, sort of like what Wattpad has done. And I just don't feel we've hit that space here. So I'm not optimistic, and I'm sorry to say that. I'm just being a realist. There are too many obstacles. If a child hasn't eaten, right, he's going to prioritize food over books. So there needs to be a lot of economic evolution, where, like for Nigeria, we don't have a solid middle class, right? We have upper class, we have lower class. and the upper class is using Amazon. They're not interested in Okada books because they can afford it. The middle class is barely existent, and that's what we're trying to serve. And then you have a lower class that they're trying to eat, and you're telling them to buy a book, you know. So I believe that a lot of economic evolution has to come, and we need to break down this system where it's easy, and I've said it before, to do business Nigeria to America, Nigeria to UK, but you can't do business easily Nigeria to Kenya, Nigeria to Ghana. I think until we break that, our systems are just going to be staying in this weird place that is not exciting.
You know what's really interesting for me is that Nigeria right now, or in the last decade, has been producing some of the best writers, some of the best, most innovative writers, and even not just even the volume of writers coming from Germany, from Nigeria, is actually the highest on the continent. So where are these books going? Who is buying them? How do we get to know about them? Because if there are so many books which are coming out and they are not being sold, there must be a disconnect somewhere.
It's the Chinua Achebe problem that I told you about, you know. I personally have gone, like, I don't know if you know the Paysetter series. It was really popular it's popular in Kenya, it's popular in Nigeria. And I literally went to the publisher and I was like, just name your price. I want to buy the digital rights of it. And they just said no. For whatever reason, you're trying to get these books and they're just like, no, they don't want to give it to you. There's just this fear, unnatural fear of piracy in Nigeria. If, for example, I was registered as a US company per se, and I said my market was US or Canada, I don't think I would have seen so much friction. But you come and you say, you're in Nigerian and you want to sell digital books, and all of a sudden everybody's piracy alarm just starts ringing. Like, these people are going to steal. So we have Chimamanda Adichie. It's the same thing. It's easier to buy Chimamanda Adichie's books in Germany than it is to buy it in Lagos. It's easier to buy Chinua Achebe's books in Germany, in America, than it is to buy it in his village. And until we solve that problem, or we admit that it's a problem, we're just going to struggle. So all the popular Nigerians that can write, they are writing for an international audience. It's not for Nigerians. You know, the average Nigerian doesn't know that much about Chinua Achebe or Chimamanda Adichie. It's really consumption for the Western world. And that's the reality. I could be wrong, but that's what I've observed.
Do you think it affects the way that they write? Because if they know that their audience is not local, it doesn't matter. They just need to write it in such a way that it'll be sold alongside Salman Rushdie or whoever it is. So it needs to be compelling, and they don't need to worry about their local audience.
Yeah, it could be. Again, I don't like to dabble into places that I'm not too strong with. I can't per se predict how, if we had a Nigerian system that was very strong, or an African distribution system, how it would affect people's writing. But I do know that, based on your logic, James, there would be an impact, because you're writing for a different audience, you're writing for a different reality. But if you look at our authors, Chimamanda Adichie, El Nathan, a lot of these guys, after some time, they're not even living in the continent again. El Nathan is based in Germany, you know. So what stories is he going to write? It's not going to write. He's probably going to try and touch on his legacy of Nigeria, but his reality has changed, you know. So I think that's the problem. It's like, I'm sorry if I'm going too long, just let me know. But it's like,
no, it's fine.
Okay, so I studied in the US, right? And every Nigerians, we had the highest number of PhDs, masters. You know, we're killing it in the US, but you don't see that transfer in Nigeria, right? So you can say, we have the best doctors in the US, but you come to Nigeria and then you don't see it, right? So it's the same thing, and I'm setting that analogy to explain why, yeah, it looks like we have the Wole Soyinka's, Chinua Achebe's, Chimamanda Adichie's. It's for the international sphere. when you come to Nigeria, you start realizing it's difficult for their books to be sold, you know. And the back to your earlier question, the reason why the music industry and the movie industry has progressed is that a lot of them, like musicians and Nigerians, don't try and sell their music. They give it out for free, right? Because they realize that the market is not set up to buy your books, your CDs. The way they make money is through endorsements. So they give out their music. When it becomes popular, then Wizkid gets a Guinness endorsement and they pay him millions of dollars, you know. But you don't see that for Nigerian authors because nobody's willing to give Chimamanda Adichie XYZ amount to become the face because they don't think, for lack of a better word, they don't think it's sexy, you know. So authors, we have this double-edged sword that the movie industry and music industry doesn't have to deal with.
But wouldn't it be then a possibility that the government sets up some kind of trust fund or some kind of support for authors? No.
Don't let me get started with the government. I would get in trouble.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to get started. Like, you know, we're trying to get stable electricity. So books are if they're a list of like 1,000 things to do, books are number 3,751. It's not. Yeah.
Lena, maybe you can talk to that. The government involvement in the publishing industry. Is the government involved at all in the German publishing industry?
Well, like I said, we have the law with the fixed prices for books. That's something that went through the government and got put into a law. So that's something very important. And we also have, I think it's called the Ministry of Culture, I would call it in English, I guess, if you want to translate it. And they support, skipped, for example, prizes, money prizes. I don't have the figures in my head, but every year, I think it's 118 independent bookshops are given prizes, money prizes, for being cultural institutions and for promoting books and literature and this kind of stuff. There's also a prize, not only just for the bookshops, the independent bookshops, there's also a prize in Germany. I think it's the third time it's been given out now for independent publishers too. Also money, of course, to support them, to support their programs, because the cultural importance of what publishers and bookshops do has been seen. And that's why the Cultural Ministry has brought up these prizes, these money prizes. So.
Wow! So we have on one side where the government doesn't exist for your industry, and on the other side we have a government that actually gives money as because of the cultural significance. So that's a really interesting thing, Ofili. Do you think that we'll ever get there in Nigeria and the rest of the continent?
Like I said, that's why when you asked me, I'm optimistic. I said no. Because I do feel there are so many layers. But to be honest, I have seen the Kenyan book space, and I would say I'm more optimistic for Kenya. Beyond Nigeria, Kenya is the one that I'm more familiar with on the continent. I think I've worked with, is it Lawrence? I forget his last name, but the head of your Kenyan association, because I do believe the government is doing a lot in terms of directly funding book interest. My main criticism is that the focus seems to be more on textbooks versus fictional books, but I do know that the government is playing a very active role in terms of book distribution in Kenya. And regardless of the country, if the government makes it a priority, the book industry will thrive. And it's just not, there are more important issues. There's health, there's electricity, there are so many issues before we get to books. So yeah.
So basically what you told me today, Ofili, is that if I really wanted to invest in distributing books in Nigeria or other parts of the continent, I really don't want to do that. It's not a thing that you want to get into at the moment.
physically, it will be difficult. Physically, it will be difficult. Like you look at Jumia, for example, they had to build out their delivery system. They had to hire their delivery system, had to build out the entire network. Konga, the same thing. And even when they did that, they were only servicing mega city centers. So you have a very premature road network and distribution system. And it can get there, but it would take some time, but it would take willpower from people and from the government. So that.
Government again. Government again. I'm seeing somebody here commenting that there's money for translating books from German into other languages. And Lena, do you want to speak to that a bit, or?
I actually don't know very much about that part of the business, about the translations. So I don't know. I know that there are funds for translations from German into English. I had read about this a little bit, and also for translations from other languages into German. But I think it's the Goethe Institute. We also have throughout the world to promote the German literature and German culture. But I don't know much about that, so I can't say that much about it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Ophelia, I know you need to leave very soon. So my question was going to be about optimism, but you don't seem to have a lot of it.
I mean, what do you want me to say? I don't know. I'm just being. What do you say, James?
So at this moment, you don't seem to have a lot of optimism. But what you can't tell me is, within your Okada system, who are some of the writers who are, making those $3,000? Maybe we can check them, try and check them out.
Oh, okay. That's a good question. One of the things that really surprised me with Okada Books was when we discovered the Hausa local writing industry. Because when we created it was just for English books, and then we just all of a sudden just started getting traffic from the northern part of Nigeria. And there were these authors that were writing romance novels in their Hausa language, and it just blew up. And I think one of the reasons why it blew up is that part of the country, compared to like the South, the Hausa is like their first language and English second, versus the southern part of Nigeria where it's English first and then Yoruba and Igbo second, and it's an Ifi second. But Hausa is like ingrained, but it's very conservative. So talking about sex, romance is like a no-no. But with Okada Books and the niftiness of it, just have a mobile device, download the book. We just got this huge amount of readers reading Hausa romance novels, and I think that was the most exciting part of it, to be honest, to discover that niche of people. And then you have people like Sally Dadzier. She's not published, and she's just writing, and some of what she's written has been they've put it on TV, on YouTube videos. So yeah, it's exciting, to be honest, and it's one of those things where I guess my big dream for Okada Books sometimes blocks me from understanding the reality of what we've achieved. But those are the two examples I'll give. Just the normal self-published author that has never published a book, doesn't have a book deal, that is making money and having her book turned into a web series, and people that in the northern part of Nigeria that nobody would have ever given them a chance to be published, publishing the book on a platform and making real money. It blows my mind.
I think that's great too, that they're able to do it in their own language. That's amazing.
Exactly. Beautiful.
Good job.
I think we need to give that information to people like Ngugi, because those who talk about writing in your own language.
Yeah. Ngugi Wationgo, is that who you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome guy. Anyway, I have to run now. I really do appreciate the time. Thank you for this interview. Nice to meet you, Lena. Hopefully we cross paths later. I'm sure I'm going to see you, James. we'll see once this COVID-19 stops. I'm sure we'll see ourselves at a literary festival somewhere.
Or in Frankfurt at the book fair.
Oh yeah, I was meant to go last year.
Yeah.
I was meant to go to Frankfurt. I was meant to go to Italy, and Morocco, and COVID-19 just killed everything.
Oh, wow.
But it'll all come again. So don't worry about it.
Awesome. Take care.
Thank you so much, Ofili. Have a nice one.
I will.
Lena, did you plan to go anywhere but COVID messed you up?
Yes, to tell you the truth, the big part of my job has always been going from bookstore to bookstore and talking about books and selling books and all over Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and this has more or less stopped because of COVID-19. And everything I do is via Zoom, FaceTime, whatever, or on the telephone these days. So it kind of messed up everything, yes. And my personal life anyway, because I have family in the United States still.
So you're stuck in your room talking on Zoom. Would you
but
like to
tell Nigeria?
Nigeria, Kenya. Would you like to talk to us a little bit about the authors that your publishers are publishing? Because I'm sure there may be somebody who is interested in German. So who are some of the authors that you are interested in? You have been distributing.
Well, maybe I do it a little bit different. Maybe I'll show you what because I had talked about the fact that we have programs that come out twice a year, and they come out very old-fashioned in these catalogs, where the books are presented. And this is one of my my publishers. I can't figure out where the camera is. One of my new ones. It's a
Das Programm. I'm seeing Das Programm something.
Das Programm. Das erste Programm. Das erste Programm. Yes. Because this is a new publishing house. And we're coming out in July with our very first book in this publishing house. I'm very excited about this one because it's a very young guy who lives in Berlin, who used to work for a big German publishing house and has decided to do his own independent publishing house. And that's something that I just love. I think that's great. So.
That sounds really exciting. Are there any people who are writing in English, or it's all German?
I only distribute German books, actually. Except for one company. This is Ariella Verlag.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a woman who grew up in Germany, but also in New York. She is Jewish, and her publishing house. She founded the publishing house to promote Judaica in Germany, so that the Germans learn more about what it means to be Jewish and what the different Jewish holidays are about and stuff like that. And she has books that are also in English. She does sometimes German copies and English copies. But otherwise, I only work with German books. That's why it's so...
Because I realized that, on the continent, English and French are the big languages.
What? I didn't understand the question, sorry.
So you only have one book in English. So apart from anything in French, because on the continent, it's English and French. It's not just English.
No, we really only have German books because the German market is enough for us. And if we want to, we want the books to be brought out in French, we sell the rights to the books to a French publishing house, and they bring out the book then in French.
And if somebody in France wants it, they sell you the rights for the German. Okay, I see how this is.
Exactly, that's the way it goes. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we should consider that on this continent. Maybe I buy rights in Kenya from Okada Books, and somebody I sell rights, but it's really fascinating, and I want us to end our discussion here because I think we've really gotten deep into it, and I'm sure there's a lot more to say, but without our other guests, I think we should call it quits. I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
and
James.
I also want to say thank you to Ofili, who joined us earlier. Would you like to maybe give a final comment or final remark?
Yeah, I thought this was extremely interesting for me because I really don't know much about the book business in on the African continent, and I wasn't aware that is so difficult. Apparently, the way I understand it, to work economically between the countries on the African continent. That amazed me. I would have thought that it's more like the European continent where everything is more or less giving and taking and giving, and everything is connected somehow. So I thought that was very, very interesting, and I thought it's great what he's doing with his ebooks. Great. I love it when people read. So great.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
letting me learn that.
I'm very grateful. So those of you who are listening out now or later, thank you for listening this far. I want you to have a nice morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.